Greetings, salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mailbag. Now, what is AMC Mailbag? Well, as you know, we do a daily Monday through Friday movie news show called AMC Movie Talk. And at the end of those shows, we always go into the mailbag because you can send us your questions anytime to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, the problem is, you guys send almost 1,000 emails a week, and we only have time to get to 2 or 3 emails a day. So we started this new show to do on Saturdays and Sundays called AMC Mailbag, where all we do is address your mailbag questions. And so far, we're having fun doing it. This show is a lot more casual than AMC Movie Talk. As you can tell, I'm just sitting here at my desk, and my guests are here with me too. We're just going to talk about movies for the next little while. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce you to the people joining me. First of all, she's one of our correspondents for AMC Movie News. She's Miss Clark Wolf. Clark, how you doing?
Hey, John, I'm doing well. Hi, everybody watching Mailbag. I don't have my glasses on right now. I know you don't recognize me. No one recognizes Clarks when they don't have their glasses on. Ha, 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 ha.
And also joining us today, he is the production manager for AMC Movie News, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, how you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you both.
Have the Weinstein sent you your check yet for that Knight Rider idea?
No, not yet, but I expect it pretty soon.
Keep your head held high,
then drinks
sir.
are on me. Then drinks will be on me.
Yeah.
After
Yes. All right, let's get to the first question of the day. And the first question today comes from Randy F. And Randy F. writes, my question is related to the potential Justice League movie. So my thought is that DC needs to have a superhero die in the first Justice League movie. Not merely die, but knowingly sacrifice himself or herself while protecting others. My thought for this is that it should be Flash, Barry Allen, who dies. And Kid Flash, Wally West, takes up the mantle of the Flash at the end of the movie. Later, the Flash movie explores Wally trying to live up to Barry's legacy. Is this something that Warner Brothers might consider, or is it too dark for the general audience? Dennis, is having a main character like Flash or something like that dying in Justice League, is that too dark of an idea, or do you think that's something that can work?
Story-wise, it can work. I just think it's way too soon for something like that. It's like, no one even, other than the people who already know who Flash is in the comic books, the movie-going audience that watches it can be like, oh, okay, he died, and they're not going to care. When you have characters die that you haven't really spent much time with and you don't get to know, and they just die, and like you're supposed to feel something, if you just got introduced to them, I just don't think that can work. Maybe like further down the line, but I don't think like a big character like Flash is something that they would actually consider.
What about you, Clark? What do you think?
Yeah, poor Flash, man. He can't get his own movie off the ground. Now Randy wants to kill him in Justice League before he got a minute to shine. But I will say this. I think that if we're going off the tone of Man of Steel setting up this universe, the DC universe as we'll know it for Justice League, I think it actually, to answer Randy's question, might not be too dark for that world. But then again, Dennis, I do agree with you. I mean, how are we supposed to care about him if we only have 90 minutes to meet him for the first time? The general public doesn't necessarily know him yet. So I think that it could work in the Justice League world that Zack Snyder's set up, but I don't think it'd be a great idea.
I gotta tell you, I tend to disagree with both of you. I think number one, take any movie, for example, any movie. Characters die sometimes at the end of the movies, and a movie is enough time to get to know a character and hopefully get emotionally invested in them, and then they die, and that their death at the end has emotional impact. Like, I think of Boromir in Lord of the Rings, right? He was only in the first movie, he dies at the end, and I know that for me that had a lot of emotional impact. So I think you can do it. I do concede, though, the point that in Justice League, you're trying to introduce a whole ton of characters, but so did Lord of the Rings, I guess. So I think they can do that. And I actually really like the idea that Randy's given us. I like the idea of doing something bold. Look at a show like Game of Thrones. I mean, it is always killing people, just always. And it's one of the things I actually really respect about the show is that it always keeps you on your toes. And I think if they killed, I don't like the whole idea of Kid Flash, maybe another Flash coming along later, but I think Kid Flash is a silly idea. But the whole notion of taking like a major character and killing them off, I think that would be bold. I think it would give a real emotional oomph, like punch in the stomach at the end, especially if the character is a likable character like a Flash. And Flash is one you could more easily replace later down the line, I think, than like a character like Superman. You can't have Superman die. You can't have Batman die. You can't have Wonder Woman die. It would have to be somebody like an Aquaman or a Green Lantern or a Flash or Green Arrow. And I think Flash would be a good guy for that, because I think being a really likable character, the emotional impact of a death of that would be really good. And I think that would set it apart from Marvel. I think that would give it its own little feather in the cap. So I don't know. Like, am I missing something here? Like, because I see this as a really great idea.
Well, what he's saying is about like him living up to his legacy. It's like, but us as the audience wouldn't know what this Flash's legacy is. We just got introduced to him. Let's say he gets introduced for the movie, and then let's say at the end he dies and this other guy takes over. Well, what is his legacy, you know? Like, we have all these other characters. I mean, I understand, like, if maybe this was a Flash-only movie, we get to know him well, but this is, like, there's all going to be all these moving pieces in this thing.
I think his legacy, though, wouldn't his legacy be if they did it the way that Randy's suggesting, that he dies at the end saving the world or something? Doesn't that kind of become his legacy in the way, or am I really over?
Possibly.
Am I stretching it?
I don't know if they're going to make Flash the savior, though, you know? That's like, no, we don't want this little, you know, not to say he's like little, but he's one of the lesser DC characters.
When compared to the big three.
Yeah.
It could be, too, that at the end of Justice League, we're setting up the next Flash movie, standalone Flash movie. I could see that. You know, his arc is like the main arc, I guess, and he sacrifices himself for the world, and then we get a standalone Flash movie starring the new guy taking over the mantle. But I don't know. I tend to agree with Dennis on that one.
All right. Well, let's go on to the next question then. The next question comes from Kedar Arij, who writes, "Hey guys, awesome show. Since Sarah Gadon signed up for The Amazing Spider-Man, 2 or 3, I'm not sure, I think she'll be playing Black Cat. What do you guys think?" Interesting question, but let me give you a little bit of background here. Now, of course, we all know by now that despite the fact that Shailene Woodley, who's playing Mary Jane Watson, despite the fact that even though she's already finished shooting all of her scenes for Spider-Man 2, they have pulled all of her scenes. Mary Jane is now not going to be in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, basically on the same day that this was announced, this Sarah Gadon came out, this actress, and announced that she's going to be in Spider-Man 3. And that got everybody speculating, and a lot of news sites running the story that, oh, Shailene Woodley has been kicked out of the franchise, and now the Sarah Gadon is going to be playing Mary Jane in the next one. Apparently that's not true. From what I understand, the reason they pulled her out... Okay, look, I'm going to give you a spoiler. If you don't know anything about the Spider-Man comics, the next thing I'm going to say is a spoiler for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. If you know anything about the comics, you already know this, what I'm about to say. So I've given you fair warning. What I'm about to say is an Amazing Spider-Man spoiler. Okay, here we go. We all know that Gwen Stacy dies. And apparently the real reason that Mark Webb pulled the Mary Jane Watson scenes out was not because of any kind of a problem with Shailene Woodley, but rather the fact that they felt that the emotional impact of the death of Gwen Stacy was detracted from having Peter Parker starting to develop a romantic relationship with Mary Jane Watson so quickly. They felt that it cheapened it and that it just convoluted it too much, and they wanted to give the attention and the honor to the death of Gwen Stacy as much as they could, so they decided for story reasons to pull the character out. As far as I understand, Shailene Woodley is still on to play Mary Jane. That might change, and I might have wrong information, but from what I understand, she's saying she's still it. So let's go with that assumption for now, that Shailene Woodley is still Mary Jane. Sarah Gadon is not playing Mary Jane, but rather playing somebody else. We'll get to your question, Kadar. Could she be playing Black Cat? Dennis, what do you think? Could an actress like Sarah Gadon be playing Black Cat, or do you have somebody else in mind that she might be playing?
Possibly, but I know that Felicity Jones was cast in the Spider-Man franchise,
yeah.
and the rumor is that she's playing Black Cat. And I think, you know, I really like her as an actress. She was in Crazy Love, and or Like Crazy, sorry, not Crazy Love. That's a different, Like Crazy. And she was really good in that. And I think she has kind of that flavor of what Black Cat should be. Kind of like how at first we didn't think Anne Hathaway was going to be good as Catwoman. I think that's how Felicity Jones is going to be. So I don't think Sarah, what's her name? Sarah Gadon?
Yeah.
Gadon? I don't think she's going to be Black Cat. So, yeah, I'm not too sure.
What about you, Clark? What do you think?
Well, I read that Variety, when all this hubbub was going down about a week ago, they actually did confirm that Sarah Gadon is going to appear in Spider-Man 2. So Sarah Gadon will be in Spider-Man 2 briefly. And so that is actually why Variety was able to confirm that she is not playing Mary Jane. Because as we know, Mark Webb took Mary Jane out of Spider-Man 2. So all of this controversy over, Shailene was recast and all that stuff, it's extra not true because the character is not appearing in the second film, and Sarah Gadon is appearing in the second film briefly, setting up a bigger arc. This is what I read on Variety. Jeff Snyder is a guy. Anyway, so, but regardless, with Black Cat, I just want to say one thing about Sarah Gadon. I've actually seen 2 films that she's in, Cosmopolis and Dream House. And I did not remember her in either of them, meaning I had to look her up and see who she was, and I still don't know who she is. I
actually liked her in Cosmopolis. I actually thought she was pretty good at it.
I don't know how much she really had to do. I also did not care for Cosmopolis, but regardless, I guess what I'm saying is, if she's cast as Black Cat, which seems like it might be an interesting fit, good for her, because everyone's gonna know who she is after that role. But yeah, as far as I know, I wouldn't put my money on her being Black Cat in particular.
Yeah, I'm not really sure she would be Black Cat either, which leads us to the conundrum, well, then who would she be? Well, there's no rule that says she has to be somebody we already know. There's nothing saying that she's going to be in the movie, but there's nothing saying that she's going to be a major character by any stretch of the imagination. We just know that she's there. So who knows what that can mean. So yeah, I agree with Dennis. I believe that I think Black Cat's already spoken for in this situation. So there you go, Kadar. I don't think that one's going to work out. All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question comes from Darren Eisen, who writes, "Hi, guys. My question is, with the success of 80s cartoons made into movies, i.e. Transformers and G.I. Joe, do you think they will make other popular cartoons into movies, such as Thundercats, Silverhawk, Mask, or others?" Dennis, what about you? Got any other 80s cartoons that you think would be good for the big screen?
Thundar the Barbarian. No, I don't know if anyone remembers that. It's like this post-apocalyptic fantasy sci-fi with this kind of He-Man-like character, and then his 2 companions, this one giant lion-looking dude. I forgot exactly what happens, but it's like the moon has crashed into the earth and something like that. But I don't think we're going to see too many 80s cartoons turned into movies. I mean, he talked about Transformers and G.I. Joe. Those are 2 huge. I mean, those were the 2 biggest ones when we were kids, at least when I was a kid. And some of the other ones just weren't big enough. And now, as the years go on, the target market that the studios are going to be targeting, it's going to start going into the 90s next, in a few years. They're going to start looking for 90s cartoons to do. So I think the window is going to close pretty soon.
Clark, what about you?
Yeah, we just did a story about it today on Movie Talk, Captain Planet. I mean, I don't think this is a great idea, but it's happening. And but as far as 80s cartoons, and I know I'm going to be alone in my principles on this one, but Jem and the Holograms. Jem. How could you not? Could you imagine if a really crazy, awesome, campy director took on Jem and the Holograms? How cool would that be? At least I think it would be cool. I'd go see it.
Didn't they try something like that not too long ago? It was something in the Pussycats.
Josie and the Pussycats, and that did not turn out well.
No, not at all.
But I still have hope for big hair and holograms. So, fingers crossed.
Always hold out hope for big hair. One of the things you mentioned, Darren, was Thundercats. Very interesting. I believe it was Warner Brothers actually tried to get a Thundercats project moving. They got the rights. They were looking at doing a live-action Thundercats. And then that got derailed. Then they started looking at doing a 3D animation CGI film. They even did some test footage. If you look on YouTube, look up Thundercats CGI test footage. You'll find a scene they shot with Lion-O fighting somebody and stuff like that. Looked terrible. And it wasn't long after that, and I believe that was still about 2 years ago. It wasn't long after that they really pulled the plug on it. I don't think we're going to see a Thundercats movie. I just don't. I don't see it happening. Hopefully, at some point, maybe down the road, 5, 10, 15 years from now, maybe they will. I mean, because it's a beloved property. We all know Thundercats, and we all like Thundercats. So you got to think at some point maybe somebody go back to it. And it's got a really good mythology to it. But for now, there are no plans. Warner Brothers not making it, and I don't know that they're planning on letting the rights go either. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, the next question comes to us from Jonathan Bell, who writes, I was wondering if you think the next Star Wars film will be rated PG or PG-13. Episode 3 was rated PG-13 for violence and some disturbing imagery. As a result, some kids weren't allowed to see it. The Clone Wars TV show has brought in a whole new generation of fans. A PG rating might be more safe. This would be outside of JJ's experience, as he isn't familiar with the family genre PG or G. Let me start with this one. Dear God, I hope it's not just PG. PG-13, I think, is where a Star Wars movie needs to be. I think to have the type of action that we want, that we've come to know and expect from a Star Wars title, and from Star Trek, thanks to JJ, I believe PG-13 is the right thing. And look, you mentioned a lot of kids weren't able to go see it. Well, the difference between PG and PG-13 is really just, it's theoretical. Any child of any age can go with their parent to go see a PG-13 film. There is no restriction on any age of person going with their parent or guardian or whatever. So really, it's not a big deal. And why would an 8-year-old be going downtown on their own to go see a movie anyway? I don't think it's going to happen. So I mean, they could go PG, but I don't think they will, and I don't think they should. I really like the idea. Now, to make everybody hate me now, I hate the Star Wars cartoons. To me, they don't exist. To me, they have nothing to do with the real Star Wars, and the movies are the real Star Wars. So that's just me. I'm glad you like them. I'm glad other people like them, and you're able to get enjoyment out of them. That's awesome. I'm just saying, for me, it's a steaming pile of gunk. But that's just me. Clark, what do you think? Do you think J.J. Abrams Star Wars should go PG or PG-13?
Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting question. So for me, especially talking about J.J. Abrams, Super 8 was rated PG-13, and I could not figure out why. I mean, and I think that, we could go on and on and on about the MPAA and how they rate things. There's a great documentary on it. This film is not yet rated. Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, Super 8 is PG-13 and Man of Steel is PG-13. Who can tell where that middle ground is? But in terms of J.J. Abrams being able to do one rating or the other, I honestly think that's going to be up to Disney, what they're going to, shoot for. And, obviously they haven't had a problem going PG-13 with Pirates or Lone Ranger. So I think, and also, as we all know, the PG rating now is a lot different than when A New Hope came out. And so I think that we're going to get a PG-13 Star Wars movie, and I don't think it's going to be excessive violence, and I also don't think it's going to deter most parents from saying, okay, like, if you watch film and you've seen a J.J. Abrams film, I think he's very respectful in terms of what he's putting on the screen. So I think that we're going to get a PG-13 Star Wars movie.
Dennis, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's PG-13. I don't see any real reason to do PG. Especially because anyone who isn't, of 13 years old, they're going to see it anyways. Their parents are going to take them. Somehow they're going to watch it. They'll watch it at home. It's not something that's going to deter them. And also J.J. Abrams, yeah, he's not going to soften like whatever he does just because he wants to reach a bigger audience, because the audience is already there. Whether Star Wars is PG or PG-13, tons of people are going to see it no matter what. So I see no purpose in trying to limit it.
All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question comes to us from Abner Sin, who writes, Hey guys, I've always been a big fan of the Halo universe. I've read most of the books and played all the games, and all the story is absolutely phenomenal. At the Xbox One, horrible name by the way, reveal, they announced a Halo TV series which was going to be handled by Steven Spielberg. This made my heart drop. Why give the series to him? He has no passion for filming anymore. Does everyone forget about the train wrecks Terra Nova and War of the Worlds? he will destroy the franchise. Perhaps I'm overreacting. Can you please tell me what you think to help calm my already rattled nerves? Well, Abner, here's the deal. First of all, you understand that, of course, Steven Spielberg with Terra Nova, that just had his name on it. Steven Spielberg was not on set every day directing the show and blah, blah, blah. That just had his name on it. And War of the Worlds wasn't all that bad, actually. To suggest, though, that Steven Spielberg has lost his passion for filming, need I remind us all that the last number of films that Spielberg has directed have all been nominated for Best Picture and gotten him Best Director nominations and blah, blah, blah. Steven Spielberg is the greatest filmmaker in history. Some might say Hitchcock, and understandably so. Some might say, others, and that's fine. For me, the greatest filmmaker in history is Steven Spielberg, because he's done every genre and done them all. He's done comedy, he's done action, he's done serious drama, he's done period pieces, and he's done Jaws. That's all we need to talk about. So the way I look at it is, if you're a Halo fan, you should stop what you're doing, put down your egos, walk outside, get on your lawn, drop to your knees, raise your hands to the heavens, and thank whatever god or alien deity you worship that Steven Spielberg's name has been attached to Halo. If you are a Halo fan, that is what you do. Now, to bring us back down to earth a little bit, though, I don't believe for a second that Steven Spielberg is going to be heavily involved in this. I believe his name has been attached to it. I believe they gave Steven Spielberg a dump truck full of money so that they could put his name on it. I believe he'll probably direct the first episode. And I could be wrong about that, but I believe he'll probably only direct the first episode, but it'll say Steven Spielberg presents, so it can bring across his notoriety and the legitimacy that his name brings. And just to be clear, too, this isn't going to be a TV series. This is going to be on Xbox. It's not going to be like on NBC or Fox or anything like that. So anyway, Dennis, I know you're a Halo fan, you're an Xbox fan, you're a Steven Spielberg fan. Does your heart drop at the thought of Steven Spielberg doing a Halo?
No, not at all. Yeah, I have to say, Abner, I think you are a bit overreacting. I mean, he is. I mean, I wouldn't put him as the #1 filmmaker of all time, but he's up there for me. He's definitely a phenomenal director, and he has a great resume and history of films. And yeah, like you said with Terra Nova, he also attached his name to a bunch of other things: Falling Skies, Super 8, Transformers. All these things that he really has nothing to do with, He just slaps his name on there, and then they pay him a bunch of money. So
I can't wait to hit that part of my career where I just get to do nothing and people just give me money.
You just slap your name on
it.
And then it's like,
that's a great day when that
John
happens.
Campy presents, and then they give you a ton of money.
What about he'll say like, he's lost passion for it. Do you think Steven Spielberg, like I believe, he won't really do much? Do you think that he won't have any real passion for this, or do you think Spielberg could be kind of excited about this?
No, I think he can. I think he will.
Okay.
Especially because he's going to only be directing 1, maybe 2 episodes to set the tone and the template for it. So I don't see him, like, I could see maybe if he had to direct like the whole season and then over time maybe he got bored with it or something. But it's only going to be the first episode or 2. So I think he's going to put a lot of passion in it.
What do you think, Clark?
Well, I kind of am of two minds about this. So, like you said, John, Terra Nova, little involvement. I didn't watch it, but I had friends that watched it, and they said it was just a big old mess. But I've also heard that Falling Skies, which he is, involved with, is actually pretty cool. I have a lot of friends that love that show. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, and I don't agree with Abner on War of the Worlds. I love War of the Worlds. I think it's awesome, and I think but on that same note, I hear where you're coming from, Abner. I'm kind of with you on him sort of not losing his passion, because I think now as an artist he's actually getting to make these projects that are a bit that he's probably been passionate about for a long time, but they don't let a young kid direct, right? We know the Lincoln movie was years and years in development before it actually got a chance to shoot, and it did very well, in terms of acclaim. But like, I was really bummed out when I read that Robopocalypse is stalled. Because, when I read that he was signed on to legitimately direct Robopocalypse, which is considered to be a more darker in tone sci-fi story, I was kind of like, yes, this is the Spielberg that I like. I want to see more on that, in that vein of War of the Worlds, that darkness, that sci-fi, whatever. So when he bailed off that one, I kind of went, oh, okay, and now we're going to get more biopics or whatever, which I don't really enjoy as much as his other, more flashy work, I guess you could say. So, that being said, I don't think it's going to be bad for Halo. Like we talked about on Mailbag last week, I think the more, I don't want to say legitimate, but the more renowned artists get involved with video game projects, the more potential we have to have solid video game projects and actually have people who are making quality video game projects. So I think having Steven Spielberg, who is kind of the benchmark for great filmmaking, attached to a Halo project is a really good sign for that subgenre of film.
Yeah, I think the one other interesting thing about this is talking about, somebody asked me once, do you think that having this hurts or helps the idea of having a Halo movie? Ironically, I think this hurts. I think there's even less of a chance now of having a Halo movie anytime in the immediate future because of this online series that they're doing. But who knows? We've had bigger surprises before. All right, let's move on to the next question. This question comes from Fatan Melanja, who writes, I've been watching your show for more than 4 months, and I love hearing your guys' opinions about upcoming movies. Well, my question is, if there's going to be a remake for the film Predator, who do you think should be the lead character of Major Alan Dutch Schaefer? A. Dwayne Johnson. B. Channing Tatum. C. Johnny Depp. Or D. Sam Worthington. I'm going to jump in here first. Let me just eliminate one of the names. Since I believe that Johnny Depp looks like an 8-year-old could beat him up in a fight over a lunch bag, I'm going to take Johnny Depp out of the running for the lead in Predator right away. My natural inclination is to say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but you know what? In this, I'm going to go with B. Channing Tatum. He's been winning me over the last couple of years, and let's give him a shot in like a pure action fun film. So what about you, Clark? You look at this list. Out of these four, who would you give the lead to a potential Predator reboot to?
I just look at this list and say yes. I mean, Johnny Depp, what is... Yes, I want to see Johnny Depp in the jungle fighting predators. Now, do I think that would be a good movie? No, probably not. And I also think that it was a bit of a, Adrian Brody didn't necessarily pan out for Predators, in my humble opinion. But that being said, I thought about alternatives like, if I could cast anyone, The Rock. Because The Rock knows how to balance being a badass, but also having fun but being serious. I mean, I think he's great. So yeah, I go The Rock. Although if Channing Tatum wants to fight predators, I'll watch that too.
Dennis, The Rock, Channing Tatum. Who else do we have here? Johnny Depp or Sam Worthington? Who do you go with?
There's only one answer, and it's The Rock. Because The Rock is the new Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
If you guys have seen the highly underrated action movie, The Rundown, there's a scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger passes by The Rock, and he goes, have fun. And it's kind of considered like the passing of the torch of the action hero. And I think The Rock not only should do Predator, but he should do the Terminator reboot. He should do the kindergarten cop reboot.
Twins!
And the Twins reboot. All in the same role that Arnold. He should forever, his rest of his career should be just doing the exact same move.
Just doing Arnold remakes.
Yeah.
Jingle All the Way. That's what I want. Jingle All the Way with Kevin Hart. Done.
All right, let's get to the last question of the day. And the last question comes from Hadrian Lear, who writes, love your show. I'm addicted to it, by the way. Could you ever see in the near future seeing a Hulk versus Superman movie? And do you think it could, be a hit at the box office? As a fan of both titans, of the comic and the superhero movies, of the superhero and the movies world, I would watch it God knows how many times. What's your thoughts on the idea? Okay, well, I'm going to throw this over to Clark first, but let's just get out of the way. This movie will never happen. Of course, the Hulk is a Marvel property under Marvel Films. and Superman is a DC property under Warner Brothers. So they will never make a Superman versus Hulk movie. That will never happen.
Yeah.
But let's play fantasy world. Clark, is a Hulk versus Superman film something you'd be into?
No, I don't think so. You know what? But the reason is because I really think that the universes that Mark Ruffalo's Hulk lives in and the universe that Henry Cavill's Superman lives in do not. I just don't. Hulk in general fighting Superman in general, yeah, sure, okay. But in the cinematic world, even if we're gonna play ball, which John, of course, no one. This is never gonna happen. Like I can't even suspend my disbelief enough to imagine these actors duking it out in a hypothetical scenario. But even if I could, no, I don't think so. That's just me.
Dennis, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's never gonna happen. Am I interested in seeing them fight? Sure, for like 30 minutes. But I don't know how they could create a story where you would be that interested to see the Hulk and Superman, somehow butt heads and fight, or maybe team up together. Like Clark said, it's two different types of universes. And also, just like even money-wise, let's say hypothetically you had Marvel or Disney and Marvel and Warner Brothers and DC decide like, okay, let's do this movie. The problem is you'd get, let's say, a 25 to 50% bump in the box office, but then you're splitting it into two. So you're actually making less money as a company. So, yeah, it's never going to happen.
See, I've already said this can never happen. It won't ever happen. But I believe there aren't many of my body parts that I wouldn't give up to see this movie if they ever were to make it. And I'll tell you how you make it. This is how you handle it. You have Dr. Banner and obviously Clark Kent living in the same universe, right? Okay, now follow me here, okay? So they're living in the same universe. And what happens is something happens to Banner. There's a bigger enemy behind the scenes, okay? And we know that there's a bigger enemy, but we don't know who it is. But they've done something to Banner that's making him start to lose control of the Hulk again. Because we know in a lot of modern incarnations of Hulk, Banner actually has some control over the Hulk, especially in the movie universe. So there's something happening where he's losing control. And so a couple of small incidents happen where like the Hulk appears and like wrecks a car or something like that. So Clark Kent starts to look into this as a news reporter to figure out what's going on. And of course, as Superman, he's interested in what kind of creature is doing this. And then he finds Banner. They actually become friends. Banner confides in him to let him know what's going on, that he's starting to lose control. He's had control for so many years. He doesn't know what's happening. Clark vows to help him as things continue to unravel. And then what happens is Banner's losing control more and more, and now he's afraid that Superman's going to feel that he has to stop him no matter what. So Banner goes on the run as Banner, much like we've seen in many Hulk films, and he's on the run. Clark, as a reporter, goes on the chase for him, trying to hunt him down across the globe. Finally, he catches up to him just as Banner actually loses control of the Hulk. And then a 25-minute set-piece battle that doesn't tear across a city, but an entire country. Let's take some Central American country, and it just goes across, this battle goes across this whole country. Hulk and Superman, the two most powerful beings in the universe, going across the whole planet, blah, blah, blah. Now, eventually, Superman subdues the Hulk, and they figure out a way to get him under control, and that's when they realize there's an even bigger threat, and at the end, the two of them have to team up together to take on the bigger threat, and the bigger threat is, I don't know, Paula Deen, maybe, or maybe maybe it's Thanos and Darkseid together. I mean, I don't know, but whatever. So there's your movie. You buy it? Come on.
Yeah, I'd go see that, John. I'm in.
I'm in.
It reminds me of the fight at the end at King Kong between him and the dinosaur.
Yes.
That's what I see, except one has a cape on.
Except one has a cape. All right, folks. Well, listen, that'll do it. We've run out of time. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen. Jump on down the comments section, would you? And leave your thoughts on any or all the topics we discussed about here today. And disagree with us or absolutely agree with us if you'd like to, but disagree with us too. Tell us opposing points of view. That's the best, most fun thing about being a film fan is we get to compare our different points of view when it comes to movie stuff. Please jump in the conversation and join in. We'd love for you to do that. I want to thank, as always, first of all, Miss Chris Lee. I was with Chris Lee earlier this week. Sorry. I want to thank Miss Clark Wolf for joining us today. Clark, thanks for being here.
Thank you, John.
And thank you so much to Mr. Dennis Zen. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys once again. Listen, do us a favor. Click the thumbs up button if you like this video. That just kind of lets us know that you like what we're doing here. But also take a second and click the subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. And, of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk Show and our weekend AMC Mailbag Show. So thanks a lot for joining us once again. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.